My name is Danny. I'm the Analyst Relations Manager for Decisions. I'm the guy that talks to Everest and Forrester and Gartner and all the different analysts about how great we are. And everybody's probably sick of hearing me say how great we are, but luckily I brought somebody else to say that today. From my good buddy, Tim Stahl from our sales engineering team. Thanks for joining us. Tim, say hi.
Hey, how's everybody doing today?
They're doing awesome because they're in our webinar.
They're mute. Yeah.
Right? Before we get started, everybody, I just want to make a couple of plugs. So as I was saying, before we got started, we host amazing live training events. We do them all over the world, 3-day training events where we bring together our prospects, our customers, our architects, our founders, and guys like Tim, and put them all in a room. And we do some training in the platform. We have foundations training for people that are just curious about decisions or that are just getting started, as well as a master class for people that have been developing in the platform for a while. We discuss lots of different interesting use cases that our customers are seeing and that we're hearing all the time. And it's a really great experience. So the 23rd to 25th of this month, we're going to be in Hyderabad. Please come join us there. And then the 14th through the 16th, we'll be here in Virginia Beach, where I'm headquartered, where our headquarters is. Great shot of our ocean front there. Great time to come to the beach and get to know us. And then May 28th through the 30th, we will be in Stockholm, Sweden. Are you going to any of these, Tim?
Yeah. I'll be at the one in Virginia Beach and the one in Sweden this year. So I'm looking forward to it. I've never been over to Sweden before. I'm excited.
Yeah, you should be. I was excited about that one. I put in my name in the hat, but I'm not smart enough to go to that.
Oh, no, come on now.
I know. Well, listen, anyway, maybe demoing a platform like ours over Zoom isn't enough, right? Like maybe actually getting to know the people that built it and talking to some of their customers is more your style. And these events are great for that. Check us out, decisions.com/events. Check out our Submars events. And while you're there, go ahead and register for our next webinar. Later this month, our COO, Gordon Jones, the Silver Fox, will be featured in our partner Tangentia's Impact Dialogue series, talking about driving business agility with a no-code rules engine on Wednesday, April the 24th. We'll explore how our no-code rules engine could be your secret weapon for achieving faster decision-making, improving the operational efficiency, and enhancing your customer experience. Then in May, streamline automation for Salesforce and your IT ecosystem. We use Salesforce extensively at Decisions. And Salesforce will tell you, if you're a Salesforce customer, that Salesforce can, make you French toast in the morning. And it can, but only if you have a Salesforce developer developing in the Salesforce system to build you customization and stuff like that. We use Decisions to orchestrate those workloads that touch all of our different systems, but especially Salesforce. So it'll be a really interesting way to see about how we're doing it, how, we orchestrate complex integrations and processes for all your applications into one ecosystem. So go to decisions.com/events to register for those. So I've got a bunch of folks on today from Decisions, as well as people that are interested in the platform. So you don't have to wait until the end to ask questions. If there's something that's interesting to you, or you have an interesting use case that you're curious about, or an integration inside your business that you're curious about, just ask us in chat. We'd be happy to answer those in live time. Quick agenda. I'm not going to go too salesy on you, but I am going to tell you a little bit about Decisions and what it is, what it does, who we are. Then I'll touch on our OpenAI module, and then we'll talk about our use case today. Excuse me, about converting unstructured data into actionable insights. Tim's done a really interesting, put together a really interesting process for us to take a look at. And then we'll dive deep into that, take a look under the hood, how it was built, what it does, what the outputs are. And then, of course, we'll have some Q&A at the end as well. But remember, don't wait until the end. Go ahead and ask now. So let's get started. What is Decisions? Decisions is a visual software development platform. It comes with these elements. Let's walk through them really quickly. A rules engine, an enterprise class rules engine capable of millions of transactions a day. not just using simple Boolean logic, but things like truth tables and matrix rules and rule chains and rule sets, about 8 different types of rules for you to build the most complex logic for any application. And they require no coding. So if you could write a sentence or fill out a spreadsheet, you're fully qualified to build the most complex logic for any enterprise application. The second element is our workflow manager. So if you're familiar with platforms like Lucidchart or Visio, it's a very similar experience. A user simply drags and drops the building blocks for any application. We've built about 5,000 of these blocks. A user simply drags and drops the blocks onto a canvas to link those objects together to build applications. The Workflow Studio is self-validating, so it's giving you coaching as you're going through and building, and you can debug those workflows right in the same studio without compiling any code, because there is no code. The third element is process mining. We give you the tools to continually iterate and develop the applications or processes that you build by identifying bottlenecks in those processes or unexpected variations in expected user behavior in an application or a process. The fourth element is an open API layer. We come with about 70 modules for the most common business applications out there. Things like Salesforce and Dynamics and SAP, ERP systems, CRM systems, accounting platforms, you name it. But it's also an open API platform, which means it can talk to any modern software application. We make those integrations a snap. It's literally like 3 clicks. And then finally, an interface designer to build unique customer and user experiences and interfaces through things like web pages, dashboards, portals, reports, things like that. So there's 3 main automation patterns that decisions fulfills. And the first one is that pure business rules or decisioning application. The rules engine gives you a place to centralize business logic and then expose that logic to business users to edit and maintain using our graphical design tools. It gets the logic out of stored procedures like web pages or custom code or your team's heads, right? And puts it in a location where you can easily change it and maintain it without diving into any code. Again, it's capable of millions of transactions a day across thousands of rules and things like medical claims processing, insurance underwriting, mortgage processing, things like that, really any kind of decision. The next use case is what we call extend and expand. It's really common when we work with customers that already have, major out-of-the-box projects that need to be part of their automation solution. That could be the CRM, the ERPs, databases that they're using, or other products that are built to handle a special part or just part of the process. Decisions is designed to integrate with these things right out of the box and then automate special processes that these systems don't do well. Things like human-in-the-loop approval process, for instance. We have several different ways to integrate with your system landscape. As I mentioned, it's an open API platform. We've got the modules, but if you have a specific system that you're wondering about right now, pop it into the chat and we can answer it for you in live time. Taking the previous step a little bit further, we often act as an orchestration layer between different applications. So if you have several applications that you have users and data in, you can use decisions as kind of the middleware to bring data in from one application and trigger an activity for a user in another application, and then populate another outcome in yet another. The most common use cases for us to act as that orchestration layer between various software applications or services, and then engage end users in workflows that cross those application boundaries.
And it's interesting today because that's one of the things we're going to use, that integration.
I was just going to say that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're going to do today. Listen, thanks. Thanks for paying attention during the salesy part. Sorry to interrupt you again, Tim. If any of that interests you and you want to learn more about the platform outside of the cool stuff that we're going to show you today, just reach out to us at sales@decisions.com or drop a note into chat. We'd be happy to arrange a demo for you. So today, first, before we jump into the use case, we released our OpenAI module back almost a year now, right, Tim? I think it was Q2
about a year.
23. So we released our OpenAI module. Now we realize there are other large language models out there, and we're currently researching all of them. We think just strategically that the market will align on a selection of 4 or 5 different large language models for most business use cases. But the first one that we did is OpenAI. I think we're currently researching on Anthropic and Gemini as well. So more to come in that space. But all you need to do to be able to leverage the OpenAI module and decisions is simply go into the administration part of the platform into features, and then simply click on a button to install the module to be able to leverage those large language models. So today we're going to talk about converting unstructured data into actionable insights. So this is a great graphic, Tim. I love this one. First thing, it made me go digging in my closet to find my old Rubik's Cube. What are we trying to convey here?
It's funny you say Rubik's Cube because I went to find my old one and all the stickers are like falling off for where I
Oh,
got
it's because
frustrated
you
with
picked
it and
them.
I just peeled
Yeah.
them all off and put them on the right. Yeah, I cheated. But I mean, within development, within no code, like that's what we're doing, right? How do you get the outcome the fastest way? And that's what I did with my Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
But when looking at this slide, what we're trying to show here is that data can be very disparate. It can be across multitude of different systems. It can be in different formats. It can be in people's heads, to Danny's point earlier. And even if it's in people's heads, it's going to come out of their head differently than the next person sitting next to them. So this random data that we have on the left-hand side really signifies the data within your organization that's all across your company. And what we're trying to do is use a large language model to say, okay, take this data in this document, in this SOP, in this note that somebody took, and structure it in a way that I can do something with it. I want to be able to automate a workflow based on it. I want to know the data they've written down, but I'm not going to sit here and key it in, like it's the 70s here where I'm having to hand enter everything in. I want to, utilize the technology out there to do it for me. And that's what you're really seeing here and what we're going to talk about most today.
I love that because I love hearing about, ways to leverage AI that make sense right now, right? AI is like so out there in the ether and everybody wants to do all these crazy cool things. And outside of generating creepy headshots for me on LinkedIn, this is a great example of how we can actually see some ROI or some value from using a large language model today, not 3 years from now, not 5 years from now, right? So as
Absolutely.
we look at like different use cases, right? As we look at the different kinds of data that come out of these use cases, I remember recently we just did one that was extracting data from a PDF, for instance. And as we looked at the data inside of an actual PDF, it was just complete gobbledygook to me. Now, I went to community college and I'm lucky to have this job. I'm not a smart man, but all of that unstructured data is essentially unusable to us. But our ability to leverage a large language model to extract the data that we need from those and put it into that structure is really what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Again, it comes down to, and you'll see when we get into the use case here why this matters so much. But everybody takes notes differently. Every company and every institution structure documents differently. It could have the same information in it, but unless
Mm-hmm.
you have someone sit there and troll through pages and pages and pages of documentation to try and find the answer, there was up until recently no other way to really handle this. This is
Right.
where these AI models are really, it's where they really shine through. There's some wild use cases out there you hear about, and you're like, okay, that's probably all smoke and mirrors because it is. But when it comes down to, the ones we kind of have on the screen here, these are ones where they can really start providing value now, while they're still only like 70, 80%, accurate. So,
Right.
yeah.
I love it. Let's talk a little bit about the process that you're going to highlight today for us.
Yeah, so the one that I'm highlighting today, and it's funny, going into this, I'm looking at the participants list, and I see people on here who I know are in some of these industries. Some of them in our own company that when they see this, they're probably going to want it immediately. So I'm gonna have to deal with that. But it's really factored around something that I've had to deal with myself over the years.
Mm-hmm.
When you work for a company and you are a billable resource, so think developer, right? I'm assigned to a contract, I'm billing against it as for my development time. Think legal, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm a lawyer, I'm a law firm, I'm a paralegal. We have a contract here that I need to do some research against. I need to do a LexisNexis search. I'm taking a phone call. I need
Mm-hmm.
something to bill that time against. Construction, is another one. You've got the foreman out there looking and making sure that people are doing what they're supposed to, and we're spending the right time on things. as anyone who's been in these industries knows, it is a giant pain to then take all that that's in your head through the day, go to a system and key all of that in, right? You got to bring
Right.
up a system. You got to key in your name and you got to put in the company. You got to find it in the list and you got to find the work type in the list. You've got to match all this stuff up, and it takes time. It's not
Mm-hmm.
in the way necessarily that's intuitive. It's not necessarily the easiest way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You can spend 15, 20, 30 minutes a day just doing time entry. So
Easy.
I mean, easy. And one of our thoughts was as well, developers and folks are taking notes.
Mm-hmm.
There's some way that they're recording what they're doing. And it's probably shorthand. If you're old like me, it's going to be on something like this. Uh, yeah, there we go. There we go. Danny and I are same boat here. But a lot of folks are probably doing it on their machine. They've got a
Mm-hmm.
document, a text document up. They're just keying in. Yeah, I spent 10 minutes here doing this. I went from 9:30 to 10 on such and such company building. And I wanted to say, can I take that data, that
Mm-hmm.
unstructured data, multiple different formats, everyone's going to be different, send it through a large language model and say, okay, take a crack at this and pull out the starting, the ending time, the company, and what they're
Mm-hmm.
doing. Give that back to me in a way that I can use it within my
Mm-hmm.
orchestration engine, and then allow us to massage that, maybe put some validations on it, wrap some workflow around it, put some approvals around it, and then
Mm-hmm.
save that, thereby saving me 30 minutes a day. It doesn't sound like a lot, but what if you got 1,000 employees spending 30
It's
minutes a day doing
huge.
this? Eh,
Yeah, that's enormous. My neighbor is exactly as you described. He's a construction foreman. He runs several big projects. He spends his whole day going around to each one. He'll record little notes. He'll take notes on his phone or whatever. Then he gets back home and logs into the mothership and spends an hour doing this, right? Inputting
yeah,
time. Everyone hates it, right? And people don't do it during the day. They're not logging into those timekeeping systems as they're working and making these constant updates, right? And as efficiency has become more and more of a focus, you take that legal example that you talked about. My first job in IT was in a law firm, right? That's when they measured billable time for attorneys in 15-minute increments. They measure that time now in 6-minute increments, right? So think about like all that goes into that. So it
yeah,
really is a cost savings. So we're talking about it in our world, in the realm of the developer, but there are really multiple different industries and use cases for this, out there for sure.
absolutely.
Let's
And
take
and
a
as
look
you
at the
see,
magic.
yeah, so this is it. So a lot of the development around you can pop to that next one there, because a
Sorry,
lot of
buddy.
the no, we're good. A lot of the development around this, right? Using I know the decisions platform. I can go inside and out. I can go in. I can build something very quickly in it. But when I wanted to extend it, the magic here when it comes to AI is the prompt
Mm-hmm.
engineering. So it's instructing the large language model on what you want it to do, and not only that, how you want it to give you the response. That's
Exactly.
one of the keys, one of the two keys to this. So in our case, what I was saying is, okay, this prompt right here is what I'm actually using. This is what I ended up on for this
Mm-hmm.
particular use case. But you start with as a data analyst, right? It puts
Mm-hmm.
its mind in quotes. It puts its mind
Right.
thinking in that kind of fashion of, okay, focused on data. There's no fluff. There's no business terms. There's nothing. It's just the raw data. So now
Mm-hmm.
that I've given it that kind of the guidance there, now I can say, okay, here's the following text from the programmer. They're tracking their time for the day. So now
Mm-hmm.
there's a context around what we're doing. There could be multiple time entries in this list, and I need to pull out the following: the time start, the time end, the company name, and the work type. And this, again, is where the magic is. I need you to specifically return all results in JSON using the following format. And for the non techie people out here, what this part does is if you've ever opened up chat.openai.com and typed in a prompt and it gave you a long form answer that took up 3 pages and had notes and all sorts of stuff in it, I don't need the fluff. I need it to return it in a way that our platform can understand it and work with it. So by putting that in there, now I can take this response and just pull it right into decisions. I can say, okay, great. It's going to respond to me with the time start, the time end, the company name, and the work type. There may be multiple ones of these coming in, even better. And now I can use it in the orchestration engine to actually show a form, to actually show a dashboard, a report. I can work with the data. And then the very bottom there, the text from the programmer is, you'll see when we get into the platform, that part is going to be dynamic there at the end. You don't see it on here because it doesn't copy, but that
Mhm.
will actually be when someone fills out this form, copies and pastes their notes in it. That's the notes that are going to get sent over to the model.
I love it. I skipped over this slide, but this is just kind of a high level of what's going on. So, really, it could be any kind of file, right? It doesn't have to be a
Yeah,
note. It could be a document, a spreadsheet, a PDF, a
sure.
CSV, lots of different data, right? We're going to use that prompt that you just displayed to actually pull out the things that we need, right? And then put that into a structured form JSON in this instance, right?
Yep,
Where we'll be able to use it in the platform to actually get some work done. I love it. Let
absolutely,
me get us
absolutely.
back on the right slide now. So now it's time for the it's time for the good stuff. Are you ready to show us this application and how you built it?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing then, and I'll let you
All
take over it.
right. All right, everyone. So what you're going to see here is what we've come up with for this purpose, right? So again, the idea here was is how, and you can see my screen, correct? There,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
everyone.
absolutely.
Perfect.
Yep.
It doesn't have it highlighted for once. But yeah, so that's the whole idea here was is what can we put together that's going to do this work for us? What is a concept that we can roll with to say, okay, my problem is I've got notes here, I've got to do timekeeping. What can I put together that can say, all right, take that, throw it against the LLM and return it? And this is kind of an idea of what something like that could look like, right? You've got your AI
Mhm.
time submission system, again, dashboard and reports that were built in decisions and are drag and drop designers. No code around any of this that I did, unless you call the prompt code that we wrote. But
Right.
yeah, you can see things like KPIs. How much time are we spending per client? What's the highest type of work type we have? What's the administrative burden on this, et cetera? Some
Mhm.
charts around what we've shown and all of that. But where the rubber really meets the road here is the process itself by which we actually do this work, right?
Mhm.
So to start with, we can come up here and as a user, we can just start with a new submission. Click on that. We get another form that's saying, enter in your notes. And again, if I'm that developer, maybe these are my notes for the day. And this is how I've taken them. You can see it's just, 9:30 to 10, a company name and what I was doing, 10:30 to 1. You'll notice I've written them in a couple different ways here, just so you can see that, again, it's just processing, real language here
Mhm.
through these notes. But if I were to take that now, we'll go ahead and paste it in a little form here, hit submit. What it's going to do is it's going to send it using that prompt over to ChatGPT. It's going to
Mhm.
churn through it and it's going to return some results here. One of the other things it's doing, or two of the other things it's doing too, is I'm actually giving it a list of valid company names as well. So not only am I saying, return the name of the company, but I want you to
Mhm.
match it against a list. Now, you can see that these LLMs are not 100%. There's a
Mhm.
couple errors in here, like work type not found. For some reason, it didn't match coaching, but it did on this one, but didn't on this one. So, it's
Mhm.
not 100%. It's real good at the times. It is really good at figuring that part out. But
Sure.
where it comes to these companies, some of them look very, very similar in some of the data we have. So it kind of missed the mark on a few of them, but it got really close.
Mhm.
But then using this form, I could go in and say, all right, well, let me just go ahead and change it real quick. I'll put in the right one. Maybe for this other one, I know it does need to be process coaching. So we'll go ahead and put that in. We'll fix these. I look at this. This one's actually got the wrong company name as well. I think that was quickly actually on my list there.
Mhm.
And then if it missed any, you could hit add or remove and do it again. And if it screws it up, you can hit cancel, repaste it, and then next time you're going to get a different result. But again, it's going to be every time it runs, it actually gets a little closer on it.
Yeah, I love the fact that it allows the end user experience to for people to use their own way of keeping notes on their time in this particular instance, but it really could be any way to really interpret the way that people work or think or speak or write, and then be able to like create actions off of that. So even with the errors that pop up, fixing them is still 100% quicker than going into your timekeeping system, taking your notes with the coffee stains or out of your phone and cut copy, right?
Yeah.
Simply a great time saver, a great demonstration. Let's take a look.
Yeah.
Can you show us how what this looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got the flow pulled up right here. So this is, within the flow designer, within decisions. So this is the actual, these steps right here that you see on the screen are the actual pieces of work that are happening behind the scenes. For the folks who may be on the call that don't know decisions, this is how we build within the platform. So you can see it's something as simple as we have some forms here, one being the submission form. So how I'm actually entering that data in. But then right here, anytime you see this kind of this OpenAI logo, that step is what's actually calling OpenAI. So it's just as simple as I'm saying, okay, when I get this form, when I hit submit, run this step. And then I'm taking, and in this case, you can see we're running against 3.5 Turbo. But in this case, I'm building my prompt within decisions as well. This is the same one you just looked at, right? It's exactly, the same text and everything that we just had on the screen. The only difference is I'm now dynamically passing in those notes that are coming from that form. So that way, again, you're not having to re-engineer this prompt every single time you do it. You can, as you go along, tweak this. Like as I was building this, I found 3 or 4 times I came in here and just tweaked a little bits because it would get it closer and closer. But you're not losing anything because again, you're just gaining productivity for each iteration you do. The closer you get, the better off you are. Maybe I started it got 60% right. Now it's at 80% right. That's still a lot better than spending 30 minutes a day on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then once that happens, we have some steps that take that data, that return, and put it into more of a machine readable format. Again, just one step that does it. And then I hit some steps in the subflow here that are actually going through and doing some additional processing. So you'll see retrieve correct company, verify work type. I'm actually, in this case, you'll see I'm pulling out a list of companies out of a database. This is just a database of mock companies that I threw together. It's about 500 of them or something like that. That could come from Salesforce, though. That could come from HubSpot. That could come from my CRM. It could come from another decisions process that I'm hosting that has the data in it. I just wanted to show that you can architect these things in such a way that they'll actually go through and get the right information. They'll use current, updated, dynamic information every time you call it, just because we're using it with an orchestration layer like decisions. So if we want to look at like getting the correct company, for example, it's real simple. It's again kind of starting as a data analyst. This puts it in the form where it's not going to give me a whole bunch of fluff. It's going to give me just what I'm asking for. But I'm saying here's a list of companies, and here's the one I give you. Give me the one in this list that closely matches it, and that's it. And again, you'll see it got pretty close. Like if all the company names are about the same, it had struggles with it. But if they're like real companies, it actually does a pretty good job. Same thing with the work type. Not to kind of keep hammering this home, but in this case, I just gave it a generic list of states that I have, like scoping and process coaching, et cetera, things that I would have in there. So that way, if I type dev, for example, it's going to return development. So that way, I've got my normalized, my standardized data throughout the system, so I can report on it.
I love it.
And then once that's done, we just have. Oh, go ahead.
No. I said I know how much our developers hate this process, right? Hate keeping these notes, hate trying to keep track of all this stuff, especially as busy as those guys are. So I know a couple of them are on here and are definitely going to hang out by your desk and figure out how to use it.
It's fantastic. Yeah. So that's, again, that's really the process here. Because once all of that work is done, we're saving this data in this dashboard here, in this data store, where I can then report on. If I want to look and see, how much work is Ashley doing, I can come down and see, her timesheet. If I want to, get an idea of who's spending time doing what, I can come in here and immediately see that. That was all done in, the 20 seconds it took me to copy and paste it in there and hit submit. So
I love it.
Real straightforward.
Great use case, man. Really good use case.
Yeah.
I really love this series of webinars that we've done around our OpenAI module, in that they're not crazy ivory tower use cases, right? These are actionable things that you can use in your business right now to do business faster, better, more concisely, that's trackable, that's reportable, that's auditable, using it for governance and all sorts of really important functions inside your business. If any of this was remotely interesting to you, the best way to learn more about our platform is to send us an email at sales@decisions.com, and you can spend some time with a guy like Tim and see if this platform makes sense for you and how you can use it to orchestrate uh, open AI and large language model integration into your business. Our next webinar coming up on Wednesday, April the 24th, Driving Business Agility with a No-Code Rules Engine. That's with our COO, Gordon Jones, and our partner, Tangentia. And of course, check us out at decisions.com/events to learn more about our next series of events coming to you soon. I want to check the chat here and make sure that everyone got their questions answered. Looks cool for several builds. Yes. Yes, we work well with large language models for sure, or to ensure that data is sensitive. It's not used for training or stored for sure. Man, any other further questions, Tim? Do you have any other words of wisdom before we launch?
Yeah, so we did have one other one come in saying one of the challenges I've noticed when working with ChatGPT to structure biomedical data is that it struggles to structure the data from large text like paragraphs, and they contain a lot of information like many numbers. Is there anything I can do via prompt engineering to mitigate this risk? It is difficult. that is why one of the new fields of work I think is called prompt engineering. Um, yes, what we've noticed with it is we tend to pare down the data we send it at once, and we tend to ask it one question at a time. So like you saw with what I did there, even something as simple as time entry, I'm asking it three different questions. One is pull the data out. The other one is verify that that company is in the list, and the other one is verify the work type is in the list. Ooh, we got balloons.
Nice.
So that's kind of the what we've really figured out works the best is narrow your focus with the large language model, only give it what it needs, and ask very, very pointed and specific questions one at a time. The other thing we have done too is we have a way to clear the conversation. So that way, every time it starts over, it's starting over fresh, and it's not using your previous results in that next question because I can confuse it. So those are a couple of points that I can give you there on that. Absolutely, no problem at all.
Decisions is really great in healthcare. We have customers that are using us not just for things like billing and insurance claims and stuff like that, but matching patients with clinical trials based off of like really in-depth research data and stuff like that. We'd love to talk to you more about it if you're interested, Lucy. Everyone, thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time, and check us out on the 24th for our next webinar. Check us out at decisions.com or drop an email to us at sales@decisions.com. Tim, thanks so much, man. Great job.
Andy, thank you.